So I do want to mention, no, I am not going to talk about or discuss or guide in any way, shape, or form where to get the ROMs for this type of project. You need to legally own and rip the games in from your own personal library. It's the best legal way to do it. I'm not going to condone or endorse any other of those gray area legality means of acquiring them. I'm going to keep this 100% legit because, well, it's better that way, everybody, right? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you can see next to me, I've got a whole bunch of e-waste here. And in this video, we're going to be taking them apart and scrapping them out, stripping them down, and getting all the precious little pennies worth of gold out of them because these things aren't worth nothing. You can't do anything with them. They're garbage, right? According to Microsoft, they're outdated junk. They can't run the greatness that is Windows 11 and all the AI stuff that they're putting in there. And even some economists out there are saying, no, you need to dump and purge all your old electronics and buy new because it's better. Wrong. In this video, actually video series, we're going to be taking a look at all these machines here and finding ways to make them perfectly functional and usable today in a variety of ways. Just because they're outdated and old doesn't mean they're not useful, and there's a lot of ways to make them useful. So that's what this video series is going to be about. Starting with this one, as you can tell from the title, we're going to be using one of these to play a whole bunch of retro games and have a lot of fun doing it, and in an easy click and download fashion. Let's get started and take a look at some of these. So you're probably wondering, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to be using, well,
a word that seems to bring terror and fear and even confusion amongst retro enthusiasts. A word that seems to cause certain people of a certain age and proclivities with the retro market to get upset that you would dare mock the purity of the hardware that you're wanting to mimic. It's a word that would kind of cause confusion because you're not really quite sure how to set things up because there's so many different things to do, so many different files and programs and stuff and such and things like that. It's also a word that seems to bring the ire of certain companies, specifically those who have a red plumber mascot, because they seem to think that anything involving preservation is technically piracy. And that word is emulation.
That's right. We're going to be using one of these machines here and an operating system known as Batocera or Batocera to create a really compact emulation powerhouse that should be able to, run a whole bunch of different emulators to experience and play retro gaming without too much headache. Hopefully in this video, by the end of it, one of these machines is going to be set up over here playing some retro games. And you're probably thinking, well, wait, why are you wanting to do this? I mean, you have a pretty big collection of retro games and retro consoles. So why would you want to build an emulation box to play them if you already own the games and consoles? Well, the whole point of this is that, not everyone has access or the means to be able to have even a decent retro game library. I mean, think about it. Games take up a whole lot of space, the consoles take up a whole lot of space, and gaming is not getting any cheaper. Even in the retro sense, retro games are getting more and more expensive as time goes by. And the older you go, the more expensive they're gonna get. Plus also, there's a whole slew of consoles out there that not a lot of people get the chance to play or experience because, well, rarity, scarcity, or price. So that's the whole point of this video, is using some old junk e-waste here that you can readily easily find pretty cheap on eBay, and a handful of modern parts, and getting things going. So yeah, should be pretty fun. So now that we're done talking about the potential hardware we might be using, because again, I need to make sure all those actually still function, let's talk about something a little bit more specific and talk about the operating system we're going to be using for this project. And that is Batocera or Batocera. And if you're kind of wondering what this operating system is, it is a specifically designed Linux, yes, Linux, the scary operating system that's not Windows or Mac OS, Linux operating system that has a singular one-tracked type design. And what I mean by that is operating systems like Linux Mint, Ubuntu, Xubuntu, Haiku OS, these are all Linux distributions that are generic in their scope. Yes, they're specific in that they are replacements or alternatives to Windows products and Mac OS, but they're very broad in that sense, since a lot of people use, desktops for anything and use computers for anything. Even Linux operating systems like TrueNAS and OpenMediaVault, these are generic because, well, the sky's the limit with what you can do with TrueNAS Open Media Vault. Depends on what you all install in terms of applications. This operating system is vastly different because it is designed solely and specifically for retro gaming. In fact, it is so designed for retro gaming, it has emulators built in and set up basically out of the box. All you need to do is take a flash drive, well, second flash drive, we're gonna need 2 flash drives for this, copy a bunch of your ROMs over using a flash drive to the hard drive that we're gonna install Batocera on, and basically away it goes. It automatically detects the games and automatically get the emulator turned on, activated, set up, and you can just start playing right away. So to find out more about Batocera, I will link it down below, but you need to go to batocera.org and it will tell you all about what Batocera is, what's included with it, how to set it up. There's also a whole bunch of forums linked from this website as well that basically, has how to set up each individual emulator and machine, whether it's Atari 2600, NES, Xbox, GameCube, what files you might need, because it doesn't come with certain files. Yes, apparently it does come with at least 1 or 2 built-in games, but they're freeware games or they're homebrew games that are being, bundled with it to at least get you a taste of what this thing can do. I've got it downloading right now. Okay. Seriousness aside, it's not downloading on this machine, it's downloading upstairs. So I'm going to go upstairs and install Batocera onto a USB flash drive using Balena Etcher, and that's very straightforward. Download Balena Etcher, and then you download the OS file that you need. It will come zipped. Do not unzip it. It's important because Balena Etcher will actually unzip it as it flashes it to the flash drive. So I'm going to go upstairs, check the downloaded OS file, and then I'm going to flash over to this 32 gigabyte flash drive here, and then I'm going to test and see which of these machines actually work and go from there. Okay, so you see I got the towers here, downloaded Balena Etcher, downloaded the zipped files. I have it installed to that flash drive, so we are ready to test out on my TV over here, which I will actually get some footage of showing it actually booting up and working. But I want to talk about these machines here because there was a couple problems with a few of these machines, and these are common problems that are probably going to pop up when you guys decide to buy any e-waste machines off of eBay. I found these through some e-waste lots local, so yeah, there was no way for me to get my money back. But anyway, the Optiplex 9010 here, I completely forgot that I pulled the CPU, RAM, and cooler out of this bad boy to run into a different computer. And I don't remember where those parts are off the top of my head. RAM's no problem. The CPU cooler and the i7-3770 is a bit of a problem because I would have liked to use that chip because this is the most powerful of the 3rd gen chips. I will find where it's at. It's in a tower somewhere, like an OEM tower, something I used to get a computer back and working for something. In fact, I think I know what computer it is. I think it was a temporary NAS server I built so that I could copy a bunch of stuff off my server when I was having some hardware issues with it. The Optiplex 3020 started just fine, boots just fine, runs just fine. But it is also, of all the CPUs here, the weakest CPU. It is actually an i3-4130, a dual-core 4-thread processor. So because of that, I am a little concerned about what kind of emulators it can run. Now, according to Batocera's website, this should be able to run the, I believe, 4th gen, which is Genesis and Super Nintendo, and also some low-spec N64 and PlayStation titles. But obviously, emulators are very CPU intensive, and with it only having 2 cores and yes, 4 threads, it might struggle a little bit and not get the full performance of what it could get with its weakest CPU. But it is still an option I am going to at least test Batocera on because this is, again, a very common computer out there right now on eBay and Amazon and all that kind of stuff. So, this thing's everywhere. I do want to test Batocera on it and get some benchmarks done on it to kind of show what it can do. The i7-7700T. I unfortunately began to strip this one out at some point after I picked it up because I had no use for basically a machine like this. Yes, it's an i7-7700, but it only has 1 hard drive slot, and that's without including the M.2 slot. I really had no purpose for this machine until I was getting this video ready. So at some point, I don't know where the CPU cooler is. I've tried a few different CPU coolers that I have laying around that would fit the profile of the LGA 11 the LGA15 style CPU socket, but it doesn't touch the CPU. So I don't know where those CPU coolers came from, so I can't use it. So this one I can't use, which really irritates me because this would have been perfect to test out, not only because it is more powerful than these two, but it also would have been a perfect example of the machines that are being dumped like crazy because they're 7th gen. The HP here, the Core, which is powered by the Core i3-8100, or it was, it actually did not boot, like period. Wouldn't boot, wouldn't give me no errors, no warnings, no nothing. It was just black screen, wouldn't boot. So I actually was thinking that it was completely junk until I decided to, on a whim, drop in a i5-8500, and it booted. Turns out the CPU that was in here was bad. It doesn't want to boot. Now that comes with a problem, even though that is a 6-core, 6-thread, 3 gigahertz processor. I don't remember the specs of it right now, which would be more than which would be a lot of power and perfect for what I'm wanting to do with this little endeavor with Batocera. Problem is that was the potential upgrade CPU for my wife's computer, because her computer has a second i3-8100, which is what should be in here, in her machine. But I just haven't upgraded her computer yet because she works at home. I don't want to swap a computer component out and all of a sudden her computer doesn't work and then has problems clocking into work. And because of that, the cooler that's in this machine is designed for the i3, not an i5. So it's very thin, very small. I am concerned about potential thermal problems with it because unfortunately, me trying to find an aftermarket cooler for this is not really possible. The mounting point for it is actually built into the chassis itself, and there's really not a good way for me to change coolers on it. So we'll try it out. This is gonna be the one I'm actually going to try out over here. And that's because this micro PC that I was really excited to try out and use. A little piece of advice: if you buy any of these micro form factor PCs here, like this Optiplex here, or any of the Lenovo versions or the HP versions, make sure the frickin' listing comes with the power brick. This did not come with the power brick. It was tossed out in e-way, so of course I wasn't going to have it. I do have a universal power supply that does have the right pin, but it's only 65 watt. And you're probably thinking, well, hey, this is 35 watt CPU, 65 watts more than 35. Unfortunately, Dell also has some sort of weird hardware in here that can tell if it's not the right power supply. This is supposed to have a 90 watt power supply. And as a result, humorously, when I boot this thing up, according to the BIOS, it's locked to 800 megahertz on all 8 cores, which is hilarious. That basically means it's like basically an 8-core Pentium 3, essentially, is what it's power rated at. So I don't even want to try it to run Batocera until I can get the right power brick for it. So unfortunately, the one we're going to be testing out for Batocera is this HP with the Core i5-8500, and fingers crossed, that little cooler, tiny little wafer thin cooler, can keep that 6-core cool. So let's hook up to my TV over here and try it out. Okay, so I've got it hooked up next to my Xbox 360. As you can see, it's about the same size as an Xbox 360. So, well, 360E. It's actually closer in size to, I don't know, Xbox. But yeah, it looks pretty good sitting there. So let's plug in my USB 3 drive and my Xbox One controller because it supports it out of the box, apparently, and try it out. Okay. Plug in the flash drive. I'm also going to plug in this USB dongle for a wireless keyboard. Good Lord. Okay, and here we are with Batocera. All right, so we have Game Boy Advance, ports. Ooh, we have Doom, OD Commander, whatever that is. Prince of Persia. Ooh, see, we have whatever these Saigun and Retro Trivia. Not sure what these are. I can kind of tell also for some reason it's over scanning the image and I can't see everything on the side of the screen, which is a problem. But we have the Mega Drive, or the Sega Dream, or the Genesis, which has 1 game in it. Old Towers. And yeah, these are all, the games that are in here are all homebrew games, so you don't have to worry about any licensing problems. We have Fix It Felix Jr. 64, which is a Commodore 64. And yeah, it supports Commodore 64. PC Engine, we have 2 games, Reflectron and Santalentian. NES, we've got 2048, which looks like some sort of puzzle game. Super Nintendo, which they use the Super Famicom. I kind of hope that you can change this. Apparently there's themes. I might have to try a few different themes. Game Boy Advance. Oh wait, what's the Super Nintendo game? Classic Kong. I don't know how they didn't get in trouble for that. Game Boy Advance, Space Twins. So I'm kind of curious. Yep, main menu. And yeah, as you can also see, it also comes with the Kodi Media Center, so you can copy over, again, your legally ripped movies and stuff and store on here. But let's go to game settings. See what we got. The game list, missing BIOS check, autosave, power mode. So these are for like on the website you can download them to like Odroids or those portable like $70, $80, $100 console things you find on Amazon. This is actually really cool. Video mode. Maximum 1920 by 1080. Oh, and that must be the detection of my my TV. Game aspect. All the weird ones. And these are because there's a lot of games that had different aspect ratios. Game renders and shaders, decorations, AI translation, rewind, which is a lot of like retro emulators and stuff have rewind functions so that you can kind of backtrack where you were in the game. If you like miss a jump in Mario or you miss something in Castlevania, you can rewind it for a split second. Rumble level for emulators and supporters of force feedback. And per system. So yeah, we can control what systems do what, like which emulator it uses. Okay, controller and Bluetooth. The controller. So yeah, we can configure the controller, which I'm using an Xbox One controller. It's what I have. So south, east, north, west. Start, select, up, down, left, right, up, left, right, left, right. Hotkey. And there, look at that. We can enable Bluetooth if our computer supports Bluetooth, which I don't know if this one does. It might. I don't actually know. Okay, yeah, no devices found. Show battery, show gun crosshair, and you can have up to eight players because a lot of these games support 8 players. But obviously, I don't have that many USB. I don't have like I do have that many USB ports, but I have that many cables. User interface. So we have different themes, and we can download themes. So yeah, so far so good. Game collections. So yeah, we show all these different displays. Show empty systems. I'm curious by this because apparently this thing supports like 200 emulators. So let's see what happens. Oh God. The Acorn Atom, which I've actually heard of. The BBC microcomputer, the Acorn Electron, the Archimedes, Adobe Flash. Really? You can download Adobe. Amstrad, the Amstrad M1000, Apple II, Macintosh 2GS. So yeah, I can copy over Apple II.dsk files or Macintosh files or games or Apple II GS games, and it'll just automatically run it. I don't know what Dice is. Daphne, I'm assuming that's well, it shows Dragon's Lair. I wonder if that's I don't remember what technology Dragon's Lair was off the top of my head. Singe, MAME, which is awesome. FB Neo. We have Atari 2600, 52. The SD computer, which is going to be really nice because again, I've never had a chance to use an Atari ST, and I'll probably never come across one. Well, 7800, the Atari Lynx, the Jaguar, and the Jaguar CD. I am excited for those two. The Optimal Uzibox. I don't know what that is. I guess I'll have to do some research and see what some of these are. Astrocade from Bali, the Wonder Swan Color, Game 8, Computers Links, Computers Links. I was like some redneck saying it. I got a computer. Casio PV1000, Coleco, Atom, the PET, the VIC-20, C64, Plus 4, the 128, CCTV, Amiga CD32, PDP-1. PDP-1, what games are going to be on that? Easy RPG. I need to see what would be on that. Lickbite Mugens, Eichmann's, KD1, Adventure Vision, Super Cassette, Channel F, Pico 8, Tech 8, Low Res NX, Pixel. Also, I need to look at what some of these are. These sound awesome. FM Towns, which is a really obscure computer. Scum VM. I think that's an emulator for a specific type of DOS game. Odyssey, Television, Vectrex, MS-DOS. So yeah, I can install just pure MS-DOS games on here. Windows games. It says 92, which is weird. I saw a new Windows game. I'm not sure exactly how those would work. Like I said, I need to do a lot more research on those specific things. I'm just focusing on the cool games. I'm just going through some of the listings here. Xbox 360. So yeah, apparently, if I have the right hardware is the limit here. Is if I can emulate Xbox 360, Game Coupe, Library, Moonlight, Miscellaneous Systems, Recordings, Namco System 22, the Triforce arcade systems. Those were cool because back in the day, that was basically Namco, Sega, Nintendo, the big three back in the day, designed like arcade technology, and they were really cool. There was like a handful of arcade machines built. There was an F-Zero game, I think a Mario game, PC 88 and 98, which would be neat because good luck finding those over here. PC Engine, PG Engine CD-ROM, Super Graphics, PCFX, Game & Watch, Nintendo, the Famicom, this system, OG Game Boy, GB2, Super Nintendo, Virtual Boy, 4-color, multiplayer Game Boy Color, N64 DD. There's not a lot of games for that, but it's kind of nice that it's included here. GameCube, Game Boy Advance, Pokemon Mini, DS, Wii, 3DS, Wii U, 3DO, which I'm excited for that. VidPack, CDI, Beats of Rage. You don't know what those are. Ports, Zelda Classic, Fly Game, Pinball, Thomas Swan, SG. Sega Master System, Mega Drive, Game Gear, Sega CD, Sega Model 2 arcade machines, Saturn, Model 3 arcade machines, Dreamcast, Naomi machines, and Diamond 2. Yeah, as you can tell, this thing supports so many. Ooh, Neo Geo. PS1 and 2, PS3. PS3. I'm kind of curious what the limit would be for this little machine. Tandy, which would be really nice because I don't have many Tandy games at all. The T994A. And Commander X16. Anyone who's into retro computers, and probably who also, well, I follow the 8-bit guy, so if you follow me, you probably follow the 8-bit guy as well. Yeah, his computer is on here emulated. Commander Genius, Team, Thompson. Yeah, you can somehow install Steam games on here. Video game music player. So yeah, I could download the VGM files off. It'll emulate the, it's like the YM22 or 26. The plug and plays. The X-Tech. Okay, and then we're back around. All right. So now I'm going to show you how to install this to a SSD. Now I have an SSD installed in here. It's blank. I should be able to go to System Settings, and I click Install into a new disk. Why is it not showing up? Dang it. All right. I'm going to get that figured out, and then when I get it installed on the new disk, we are back. So as you can see behind me, it's been about 2 or 3 days. I took this upstairs, and well, I just fell down a rabbit hole, and I was getting a little frustrated with something because this hard drive was dead. This SSD was dead, didn't want to detect. So I had to grab a 128 gigabyte SSD that I had for another project. So I had to copy and save files from that. And then when I got to work, oh yeah, screensaver. When I got it to work, I kind of got distracted when I was copying games over, and I kind of went a little overkill and overboard. So I, yeah. Anyway, I managed to get installed onto an internal hard drive. No more USB for this. And, well, I already transferred a bunch of games over, so I'm not going to do it again. But I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to show you how, I'm going to talk you through how to copy files over. So one, you go onto your big computer, and you copy all your legally obtained ROMs. Can I stress that enough? Legally obtained. We don't believe in that P word here. Anyway, with your keyboard plugged in and at the main center screen, you press F1, and it brings up a file manager, much like any other computer. So then what you do is when you plug in your flash drive, it should show up over here, but for some reason it's overscanning like crazy on my TV. I don't know what the heck's going on. You basically just drag and drop, and you move the ROMs in their correct folder. In the share folder here, there is a thing called ROMs. Click on that, and it opens up folders of every system this thing supports, all the way from the Atari 2600. Well, you saw them earlier. Everything it supports. And then you just click and move your files over, your ROMs to the correct folder. NES ROMs over here to the NES folder, Super Nintendo ROMs to the Super Nintendo folder, Genesis to, well, okay, Genesis to Mega Drive, because for whatever reason, they're using the Mega Drive naming here, which is, I guess, fine. But yeah, PS1 to PS1, PS2 to PS2, you get it. Now, the thing is, and this is where the rabbit hole thing began, is that a lot of these games will take up a lot of space. So obviously you're tempted to overdo it. And I unfortunately did overdo it a little bit, but you'll see what I mean here in a second. But anyway, for a lot of consoles, you need to check the forums and the install guides, because a lot of them do mention you need BIOS files. For example, the PS2, the PS1, the Saturn, the Dreamcast, they need BIOS files in order to emulate the machine correctly. And you have to find those online and download them and then copy them over to the BIOS folder. So now that I've got all that figured out and sorted, let's play some retro games and see what this thing can do. Because I actually haven't tested it out too much. I just basically kept copying games over and lost track of time. Just because, you know, overkill's underrated. Turn this up a little bit so I can have some music. Okay, so anyway, let's play some games. We have PC Engine, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64. So what I want to do is I just want to play a little bit of some games and see how this thing runs. But I'm also going to have a performance overlay here in the corner to kind of show like the specs of the PC and see if it's getting, you know, at least like CPU usage and stuff like that. I'm kind of curious. So let's try Super Nintendo. So I'm going to try Congo's Caper. I'm actually really familiar with this game. I want to see how it plays. Oh, that overlay is not working good. It's in the corner, but it's but OpenGL HD graphics, UHD graphics 630. I'm using 0.9 gigabyte of RAM. So far, this looks pretty good. If anything, I think that ran a little fast. So far, so good. All right, the Super Nintendo works just fine. I love the border art they have for this. It looks so cool. Yeah, so far, so good. I'm getting basically 61 FPS, frames per second. So yeah, Nintendo works fine on here. And I'm also gonna get some direct capture of some performance stuff. Some more demanding games. I'm just trying some stuff out on here. Oh, that's backwards. My left triggers accelerate. This looks really good. And I'm hovering right at 30 FPS. Like I'm stuck at 30 FPS. But it feels really smooth. In fact, this thing's not even using that much power. This must be a really low demanding game. Yeah, so far the Nintendo stuff's working. Let's try Neo Geo. That's an arcade system, so why not just try it? Ooh. All right, now let's really push this. I want to see what this thing can really do. Let's try Xbox. Oh, but I don't know if you can see that performance overlay though. I'm hovering right at 4 gigahertz, which is basically pegging this thing. When I'm hearing the cooling fans ramp up, this is not good. But it's doing it. It looks pretty good. I can hear that cooling fan ramping up though. I hit 86 Celsius. 71. And this is, 87, 89. Ugh. Yeah, it's running OG Xbox though. And it's holding at 60 FPS, so I consider this a success. So yeah, as you can see, this project worked out phenomenally well. This is something that you can do at home very easily. Just downloading some things, mainly Batocera, and buying a cheap piece of e-waste off eBay, and you got yourself an emulation powerhouse. Yeah, true, the 4th gen is going to be a lot cheaper than 8th gen since it's still technically usable with Windows 11 standards. For the most part, yeah, this thing here is an emulation powerhouse. It did hit some thermal issues with San Andreas on the OG Xbox, but the fact that it maintained 60 FPS on that, I am more than happy with it. That means this thing can run 6th gen era games, the PS2, OG Xbox, GameCube, and Dreamcast. Obviously, playing one game is not a good metric for that. Obviously, me playing some more demanding titles would be more appropriate, like Halo 2 or something like that. But the games I did play, it ran them flawlessly from what I could tell, especially some games that I was actually familiar with and knew how they should look. Obviously, I'm going to hook this up to my capture PC and get some more direct footage of some other different games, while also benchmarking those as well, because I kind of want to see where those lie in terms of performance too. Now, I do want to mention, Batocera's website says that 60 FPS should be the bare minimum, is the kind of the minimum metric for it. Anything below 60 FPS is like percentage of playable. To me, honestly, I'm going to argue with that a little bit and say that 30 FPS for some of these games is perfect. Things like N64 games, PS1 games, and older, running at 30 FPS is more than playable. If it's a little dip, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. But the fact that this thing could run at 60 FPS on essentially, by this point, almost 7-year-old hardware is actually really impressive. And yeah, I get it. That hardware came out far after even the OG Xbox. But hey, emulation is a very CPU intensive resource. And the fact that this thing was able to run OG Xbox well, I'm thoroughly impressed. In terms of performance, though, the sky is the limit. There's really not a recommended hardware for this. Just any computer built after 2010, 4GB of RAM, and a 2 or 4 core CPU plus, and you can have yourself a whole afternoon of fun. I mean, realistically, I could see myself losing some time in here playing some of my favorite games without even trying, which is why I was forcing myself to stop what I was doing and checking out each system. So I do want to mention, or I guess re-mention, that no, I am not going to talk about or discuss or guide in any way, shape, or form where to get the ROMs for this type of project. If you want any of the ROMs or games for a Batocera emulation machine like this, you need to legally own and rip the games in from your own personal library. It's the best legal way to do it. I'm not going to condone or endorse any other of those gray area legality means of acquiring them. I'll leave that up to you. And if you don't really, and if you're not sure, where to find that kind of stuff, ask around to some other retro collectors. I'm pretty sure they can point you in the right direction. But not in this video. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep this 100% legit because, well, it's better that way, everybody, right? So yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know I was entertained and had a lot of fun with this little project, even though I had no idea it was actually going to work this easily. Like I said, the last time I tried to do this was RetroArch, and I had a lot of problems getting it to set up. And obviously, if I would have kept going with it, I would have probably got it. But this was just out of the box, just flashing a, flash drive here with Elena Etcher and the OS image, and away it went. I didn't have to do anything. And even though, yes, I had a few little problems getting this going, like, I don't know, I was an idiot and decided to turn off UEFI in the HP BIOS here, and it caused a weird boot lock issue, which, well, again, my own fault on that one. But yeah, this turned out really, really well, and it was a great example of that, and it's a great example to show that, hey, these old computers, they're still perfectly usable. You don't have to throw them away to e-waste just because Microsoft says you can't run Windows 11. Obviously, this machine is perfectly usable. Even if I was installed Windows 11, it would still perfectly work, but obviously this is a lot more fun and a lot more freeing than using some constricted AI shovelware operating system. So if you have any thoughts or questions about this video or anything that I did, put it down in the comments. Obviously, I'm going to be doing some tweaking and changing with some things. I am going to be getting a proper power brick for that micro form factor, because I think I want to use that instead of this HP one, because I do have a plan for this HP one as well in an upcoming video for this series. So you have to see when that comes out. I'll put all links to everything down below. So be sure to check them out and try this project for yourself. It's actually a heck of a lot of fun. And if you're a retro game or even computer fan, because this has some emulators built into it, it'd be an amazing little thing to try out without dragging out or tracking down obscure hardware. So again, that being said, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.